Killzone into a gaming conversation, you might actually be greeted with the rolling of eyes. Killzone as a series has always aspired to be something that many shooter fans just won't let it be, and with its original release tainting the trust of future sequels, what actual hope is there for this series? With Killzone Shadowfall as the PlayStation 4's potential launch hit, can Guerrilla Games this time strike hard into the hearts of gamers and serve them something to remember for all time, or is this a shameful scribble for the history books?
We're gonna be okay, Lucas, I promise. This isn't forever. We'll be back. This is Vector. This is our home.
Killzone, as many know, has come quite a long way, from the Helghast invasion of the peaceful planet of Vector to Killzone 2 and 3's bromance adventure of the ISA's revenge. Fans of the series have seen clash after clash, just hoping to see a victor appear from the rubble of all this destruction. Following the aftermath of Killzone 3's climax, we find that the Helghast appear to be pretty much defeated. The only thing that the remaining civilians can actually do is find much needed refuge in their originally stolen planet of Vector. Killzone Shadowfall starts off as you, the player, take the control of the silent but deadly Shadow Marshal known as Lucas Kellen. As only a young boy, you witness the destruction of half your home, and also the death of your loving father. Revenge and a sense of patriotism builds up inside your unlucky protagonist. With only the teachings of your surrogate father, your goal seems to be the ultimate final blow to the pale-skinned opposition. The series bleeds incredible amounts of untold backstory, and so game after game creators of Guerrilla Games have always tried to keep new players up to scratch with what's been going on throughout the sequels. Shadowfall for the most part portrays a pretty welcome cloak and dagger quest, but compared to previous entries, seems to hold back in reveling in what could have been the most explosive descendant in a long-running series yet. This time the scale of the ongoing war is held back a little, unlike the events of Killzone 2 and 3, but with that happening, we begin to realise that big battles aren't always what make a great story. If you haven't been following Killzone, then the plot may not actually interest you. It partially continues on the expectation that its players have witnessed all of the original entries, and so in some ways new adopters might feel a lack of connection to the goings-on within this game's world.
It's always been that way. You know that more than anyone.
Guerrilla Games tries to rectify this by pretty much disconnecting all ties to what happened in the original games, with just the backdrop of its story serving to move the player forward. If you're a long-running fan of the series though, then there's plenty to be incredibly excited about. Not only are the undertones and messages presented through its inhabitants' actions sometimes rather moving to watch, but you may actually find yourself realising that after all this time, things between the two factions have always been a little black and white.
Keep them alive.
This is rather obvious, with the motivations portrayed through the tight cast of well-acted characters. And to some level, you may actually begin to question the loyalties that you have always held through the series. To some grumbling though, you won't find any villains on the level of Killzone 3's Johann Stahl. But in a way, Killzone has always failed to implement proper memorable antagonists that can keep the player pushing forward in a lust for confrontation. A shout out does go to the very passionate Helghast operative Echo, portrayed by the very talented Jamie Gray Hyder, and solidifies the possibility of an incredibly potential female lead in the future of the franchise.
Don't lie to me, you came here to bury the truth. Wasn't destroying Helgen enough? I will not see any more innocents die.
If there is one thing Killzone is very well known for though, it is the much loved or hated weighed down combat. As with Killzone 3, Shadowfall brings back the less heavy feel of weight compared to Killzone 2, and while some may still find challenge in aiming and movement, it ultimately feels more fluid and swift when dishing out rounds of bullet-fed pain. What you should know is that Shadowfall once again presents its players with a wide selection of awesome weapons and gadgets. Seeing as you are taking on the role of a high-tier spy, you should always expect to be given the latest in high-tech weaponry. Guns especially give off some amazing individual sound effects and feel very punchy when firing. This is incredibly evident with the signature multifunctional assault rifle that can be used as a standard fast-firing weapon or scoped Hadouken sniper rifle. I mean, come on, look at those bodies fly! What about the more tactical tools? For Kellen, this comes in the form of a handy remote control drone known as the Owl. The Owl itself actually works very well with a number of unique modes to choose from, such as being able to deploy ziplines, shields, and even stun deadly opponents if needed. Initially, the Owl also gives players the chance to mix up their playstyles with a combination of stealth and full frontal assault options, but these opportunities begin to disappear later on in the journey as it begins to follow the draws of more corridor-based shooters. Killzone tries to rectify this slog by mixing in bouts of potential bullet time slow-mo through the use of rare-to-find adrenaline packs, and in a way, it succeeds in amplifying the smaller of fights to the even bigger epic battles. The AI for the most part is also a great challenge, but unlike Killzone 3's mix of heavy-hitting armoured soldiers, scouts and robots, Shadowfall gives its audience a smaller variety of standard foes, ranging from gunners, shield bearers, snipers, and the old crab tank thing. This shouldn't be off-putting though, as the gunplay can be incredibly fun to experience, but with so much implemented in the previous game, it's a little bit of a shame to see this series' vast portfolio of variety take a step back this time around.
I always knew something like this would happen.
Now while the single player might be a nice taste into this game's universe, it has always been Killzone's highly addictive and rewarding multiplayer that's brought fans back for more. This time around, Shadowfall brings a few new tweaks and features for the more online-orientated gamers, and while other IPs prefer to push its players down a progression tree that can punish the less dedicated among us, Shadowfall actually gives its gamers everything from the get-go. Gone have the long nights of leveling to unlock weapons, and welcome Killzone's brand new challenge system that rewards its players for picking the preferred guns that they want, when they want. What this actually entails is the disappearance of previous slaughter that saw lower level players outclassed by the more dedicated and experienced, and finally we get to see players battle from the start in more balanced battlefields. This doesn't mean that progression is walled off though, as combatants can still unlock attachments and upgrades for their most favourite tools of the trade. And ultimately, I feel it will benefit online play for all of us in the long run. Killzone's staple multiplayer mode Warzone has also made an exciting return, with a nice combination of team-orientated match objectives. This time players will be happy to find that the multiplayer has been open to them like never before, with the ability to create their own rules and playlists, like one life only grudge matches and specific weapon limiting dukeouts. Finally, it has to be mentioned that Shadowfall is an incredibly beautiful game. If you haven't witnessed the sheer jaw-dropping scale in its fully realised world, then you are one gamer that is truly missing out. Guerrilla Games once again proves that they are at the forefront of providing the true high-def and next-generation experience, and Shadowfall is evidence of this. From the explosions in its battles to the realism of its emotionally charged characters, Guerrilla has once again shown competitors that Killzone is the crowning king of visual overdoses. Not only that, but with beauty comes the seductive electronic beats and brooding thumps of its soundtrack that keeps your head in the game and your body ready for the next batch of battles. Ultimately, Killzone Shadowfall is an excellent launch title to begin your PlayStation 4 experience. Its story may not be the best or the most bold, but for fans it is one of the many outings the series has been waiting for. Its plateau of selection is also huge, with a highly competitive multiplayer side distraction and much promised DLC to come. Proxy playthroughs gives Killzone Shadowfall a deliciously textured and delightful gold muffin, but what do you give this launch title? Proxy would love to know, but until next time, ciao.